So this is a case of migraine in a person of 34 years, and he is working in an institution, and he has a coaching institution. So he's suffering this migraine since the age of 8 years. Like he was in class 2 or 3. I think whenever I admit that, it's getting locked. If a new entry is coming, it's getting locked. So we'll just, yeah. So this is a person who's suffering from this migraine almost since 25 to 30 years. And he has so intense headache that now it has started affecting his uh, profession. Like he works in a coaching institute, and he's having a career counseling also. So he has to go for various seminars for career counseling, and he is not able to go because of this migraine. And what he says ki nowadays I am afraid to commit because this headache may come up suddenly, and I am not able to deliver what I have to deliver. So it's affecting my profession. So he has a severe pain in the temple. There's a pushing out kind of a pain. It's aggravated by pressure, and it's ameliorated by wrapping head. He just ties something, and that helps him. So he's a well-educated man. He's around 34. He has migraine almost thrice a week. He has set up many restrictions in his diet as to what triggers his migraine. Like he used to tell me, today I woke up in the morning and then I had poha. So today I didn't have headache. Then next day he'll call me, today I woke up, then I had some idli. So there was no besan, but it was this, and I had headache. So I'll avoid tomorrow. So, throughout the day, he was so tied up with what to eat and what to not eat. So sometimes he used to make that trial. He used to eat poha, but poha without aloo. Sometimes poha without the normal garnishings. Sometimes he used to take curry with besan, or he used to sometimes try gluten free. So his life was, he said it was full of restrictions as to what to eat throughout the day. Also, he says now my integrity is affected, as he has to request his organizers to cancel his schedule just before it starts due to the headache. So he says, he doesn't want to do anything nowadays. He says, I have many ideas, but because of his headache, he doesn't want to expand his business. So this has started affecting his business. He has started procrastinating. So he has issues. See, it's blocked again. He also has issues with his younger brother. He feels that his younger brother is very authoritative. He feels that he doesn't treat him right. He says his younger brother should ask him, like, will you like to do this? He says he just orders, like, you have to do this. And he says, I am not answerable to him. I don't like to answer to him. He's my younger brother. I don't like to be questioned. I'm not answerable. He says, I lose the excitement of working when stricter norms are imposed. I feel like parting away and taking my own decisions. The joy quotient in my life has reduced. So he wants to take decisions to expand his business, but he's not able to take. So nowadays, what is happening is he is liking to just stay alone. He doesn't want to go out. He says whenever there are some ceremonies or some festivals around, his mother tells him to go somewhere. He says, I avoid. I don't want to go. So he prefers watching movies in his own space, especially the Hollywood movies. And the movies he likes is, the normal Hollywood movies. He says, I like the werewolf movies. And he says there is so much awakening in them. It is a process of going inside and understanding what goes on within us. He says it tells us to understand the beast within us. We all know that we have a beast within us, and that we have to understand. And that is what he learns through the movies. And when I asked him precisely what exactly you like in this process of these movies, what is the main thing? He says, I like the quality of endurance. So now he feels attacked, neglected. He says, your ego is attacked. Every time when a question is asked to me, I feel that my ego is attacked. He says, teamwork is always good. You have your right. He says, we should work as a team. You all have a right, and delegation and planning is permissible. He says, we can sit together and we can always figure out what I am good at and what somebody else is good at, so that we can start working. So he says that delegation doesn't happen in my with my brother. We work as a team, but that doesn't happen. So in his dreams, he sees a robber who's very hefty, 6 feet tall, very dangerous, big biceps, steady, stable and steady. And he says, I just freeze. I freeze. What was the experience in the dream? He says, I froze. So now when we ask a dream in a case, you have to ask some questions. You have to see the imagery, what is happening in the dream, and the words used in the dream. And also you have to ask, how was the experience? Sometimes you expect he has seen a ghost and he should be reacting like that. But it is the experience of the person who's seeing the dream which will give you the clue. So that is very important. Otherwise, if you just take a case and if you see the dreams and you put your interpretation, it will go haywire. So now I had a patient who used to go for examinations. He used to dream that whenever he's going to the examination, he's not wearing any clothes and he's with his undergarment. So normally what we expect in this case, like he is going to give his exams and he's wearing only his lower undergarments, and obviously we feel that he might be embarrassed, right? That is a normal reaction we expect. But you have to remember, in homeopathy, being embarrassed in this situation will be a common reaction. We are not looking for anything common, and that is the basis of homeopathy. You have to try to individualize at every step. So what happens in this patient, I asked him, like, what was your experience? I was expecting key embarrassment and all. He said, I was feeling very light. He said, even I was late for my this examination, I could run and just catch the train and I'd be there. So I did not have extra clothes on me. So now this is PQRS. Normally you expect some embarrassment is there, what people will think of me. But in this person, he says, I felt very light and I just loved running and I got to my examination hall at in time. So this, and again, you have to match this to all the cases. It should not be one single event which is not connected to the whole. So in every case, you have to understand that whatever bits and pieces you are getting in a case has to come to a whole, and that whole matches to something in nature which can be plant, mineral, or animal. So this is what you have to see. Individual informations which are not matching, which is not giving you a coherent whole, will not give you a remedy. So we have to understand the process, what is happening, and you have to individualize at all levels, right? So in this case, what he said, I saw the robber was very hefty. He was 6 feet tall and very dangerous, big biceps and stable and steady. And I just froze. I was not able to move. So this was his experience in the dream. I asked him, then the second question here was, I asked him, have you experienced anything like this in your life ever? So he says, you have to match it to the whole case. So in the dream, as you know, that the subconscious is expressing. So you have to see this experience of freezing. Is it coming in all experiences of my life? Which was the incidents which he could remember, where he could tell about froze, right? So you have to take these bits and you should know what you're looking for when you ask a question, and where will you get this clue. So once you understand what is to be seen in the case, your questioning will be it will be in sync. So when you understand what to look for, that will improve your case taking skills. So he says, I asked him, like, where else in your life you have felt like that? So he went to his childhood. So now this is very important. When you ask the question, the patient will, most of its time, will take you in some past event of his life. And if it is nearer to childhood, it means you're going to the purest sensations or purest experiences of your life. It means you have struck the chord, right? So you have to see now where you don't have to. Many times we ask about the question, like, what about your childhood? But most of the time, the patients take us to the most important event in their life. Important in the sense of their fears or their delusions or their threats. So he says he remembers an incident of a childhood faintly. He remembers of freezing after hearing some voices in his room. So he could feel that his mother was being hit by his father, right? And he was very small that time. He said he could feel that he was hit. Yeah. He was hit by the father. He could hear those faint voices. He says, I was very small, like around say 6 to 7 years of age. He could understand with these voices that his father was beating his mother in frenzy, and he just froze and he chose not to move. Again, his gesture was, I just froze, and he just closed his eyes. Ki, I will see if I see something, or if they know that I'm there, and if I make a movement, my father will hit me also. So he recalls many incidences after that when he just froze. He says, the idea of having my father in my home was that froze feeling, as if we had to stay with a book in a room, and if we moved out of that room, we were gone. So he says, whole of my life we used to just peep outside the room, like, is my father there? If he was not there, we used to just roam about in the room and play and have fun. But the moment they heard their father's voice of the vehicle, scooter or whatever it was in the outside, and they just took a book and they had to be in a room with the book. So he says that moment also, I felt that, I just did like that in my room because I was not interested in studying that way. So he said, because of this, I was not happy at home. I just told my parents that I will go out. I'll study. I will not study here. He was living in a small village that time. So mm, this was the thing which he used to go away from the home. He said, I did not enjoy in that atmosphere. So when he went to his school also, he said he was bullied. He was bullied in school in Pune. So again, that atmosphere also, he said again, I wanted to run out of that school because he was bullied. So now see the plight of this child. He did not feel comfortable in the home. He wanted to run out. And again in school, he was bullied. He wanted to just go somewhere. So this is the whole theme. And the doses were given. And this is the follow-up. This is the testimonial he has recently given me. I have suffered from migraine since the age of 10 years for almost 25 years. The pain intensified with time. I tried every alternate pathy, but in vain. Even the painkillers stopped helping. I had accepted that I have to live with it. Then I got to know about Dr. Meeta Nihlani. The first hour of consultation was an intense session. I was amazed in first month of the treatment itself. It was fantastic. I felt energetic, confident and lively. My headache frequency came down about twice a week. It has been around 6 months now, and touch wood, I seem to be forgetting what headaches are like. My frequency has come down to about once in 10 to 15 days. The intensity of headache has also gone down. I am handling my stress better, as I'm able to understand better, and I'm able to I can happily say that I'm beginning to become my best version of myself, right? So this is the follow up he has given me. So now if we see the analysis, how will we work in this case? How do we work in this case? So just write in the chat box any clue. So just write down your views about this, then I'll begin forward with the analysis of the case. So Solanaceae, Anacardiaceae, any remedy coming to your mind? Stuck in his childhood, stick struck father, res. So now we'll begin with the you're all on the right track, but nobody's coming with a remedy yet. So I'll just tell you all what the remedy was, given to him, and how to start with basics also, right? We have to learn all the methods. So how all the methods come to one. So what is to be healed in this patient? Now, what is to be healed? What do you think is his problem? That is how I start working in cases. So what exactly needs to be worked? So as we see in this case, he had a very strict father and he was supposed to be in a small place where he was not able to move, and that was the incidents in his childhood which just made him freeze. And what was the reaction to his freezing? He just wanted to go out. So the moment his father was out of his room, they used to rush out and play outside. That time, the only thing they wanted to do is just go outside and enjoy. So now this is how I repertorize the case. What was the main issue? He said, I don't like when somebody asks me a question. I'm not answerable. So this was a rubric which would give me an entry: mind, anger, answer when obliged to. He says, I am the elder brother. So why should somebody ask me questions? I don't ask him any questions. So that was the entry point for me. Then mind, anxiety, household matters about, whenever he had headache, he used to tell me that, doctor, what I feel is that whenever I have this headache, I'm not able to help my wife in her work. Teaching my children is also part of my work, which my wife has to do. She's adjusting with my mother and with her mother-in-law. Obviously, my mother is a bit strict with her. So he says, I feel I should be contributing to the household. I should help her in bringing the groceries. I should help her in teaching the kids, doing the homeworks, but I'm not able to do. So again, this was a second entry point, which is the mind, anxiety, household matters about. And then the delusion which was clear in the childhood also, he said, now also his brother, when he asks him questions, he feels that his ego is attacked. So mind delusions, imaginations attacked his is going to be family member by. Also, there is a mind indolence, aversion to work, irritability. And whenever he had that irritability, he was always irritable. He says, whenever my brother came to the office, I just made it a point that I leave early to home, because what happened is, I had to answer him and I became irritable. So I didn't want to work with him. So moment he said, if he gives me a room and if I have my own space, I would deal with the clients. But when he used to tell me that we'll have the meeting at this point and this point, I did not care. I did not want him to consult him. I took my meeting. I just left. So here, whenever he became irritable because of his brother, when he entered this, they had two chambers, adjacent chambers in the same office. So whenever his brother came inside, he said, whenever he came inside, I used to get irritable, and that made me want to just run away. So this is how we have to learn to convert what the patient says into rubrics. So mind, indolence, aversion to work, irritability. Whenever he's irritable, he just wants to leave and just rush away. So he will just lock his cabin before his brother came in, and he used to go home. And he said, I have so much work, I have to teach my children and all. He just to go home. And when he used to go home, if his mother says that you have to attend a festival, you have to attend a wedding, he used to again get irritable. He says, I did not like to socialize. I just wanted to stay in my home, in my room, and watch movies. So, what is the remedy which is coming up? The remedy is, which I gave, is Rustox. And if you see now I have made one box of this, the mental rubrics. This is the mental rubrics. And one I have repertorized as the physical rubrics. So head pain, headache, disordered stomach after. If his stomach was good, if he did not have acidity, did not have any migraines. So that made him very cautious about what he is eating throughout the day. So head pain, headache, wrapping up, head, he used to tie something and he used to say he used to feel better. So this is also Rustox. Rustox and Naxomica, two remedies are coming up but in this we have Rustox, I chose. So in both the cases, first remedy is Nux and first is Rustox and second is Nux. Here also first is Rustox and second is Naxomica. So in such cases, how do we work forward? We try to see both the remedies and see which remedy is coming closer. And if you have the knowledge of sensation, that helps to clarify. So now I studied what is Rustox from Dr. Shankaran, Soul of Remedies. So now what we understand about this remedy from our already existing literature. Rustox is a plant remedy. It falls in the subacute or typhoid myasm and is known for such pathology. So Rustox has constant anxiety as if something is going to happen. This patient has many fears. Fear of evil, fear of being hurt, fear of being murdered, extremely superstitious. This constant anxiety makes him restless and does not allow him to rest in any position. So there is a feeling of helplessness, of being forsaken from his friends, a feeling that something bad is going to happen. And this anxiety is more inside the house and is ameliorated by walking in the open air. So now, Dr. Shankaran has done in Soul of Remedy, see every Materia Medica. We have Materia Medica written by so many authors we can't count. But every author has his own perspective of looking at the remedy. So in Soul of Remedy, we have tried, Dr. Shankaran has tried to see it from the perspective of a delusion, means as if his situation of life is that. So now, what is a situation? In this, it has a situational Materia Medica. So from this, what with the rubrics, Dr. Shankaran has tried to understand that Rustox faces some kind of danger of attack from the family members, from members of his own family, and feels helpless and forsaken. So this threat is from inside the house. He always has to be on guard. If this threat were from outside, he could turn to someone for support. But here it is not so, because The place where he feels he should be feeling safe is not safe at all because of his father. The one who had to protect him from the world was himself threatening him. So that is the reason he felt threatened at home, and always there was a desire to escape from home. So he had, because there was a threat from inside, he had to be on guard. So hence in Rustox, there is no clinging, no desire for company. As we saw in the case, he said, I just want to be in my room and watch Hollywood movies. So because there was no one to look up to, and मतलब जिसने उसको protect करना था from the world was himself threatening him. Like he was threatened by, he felt threatened by his father because he was very intimidating. So he can't turn to anyone for help and has to keep quiet. As night approaches, the anxiety grows. Someone within the house may harm him, creating fear of murder even after midnight, which when he cannot shout, cannot tell anyone else, and there is support. There is no support. Now see these few lines and see his issue of his, how he had the same issue in childhood. Hmm? He had the same issue in childhood that at midnight he was supposed to keep quiet because his father was beating his mother. So there was no, neither he could go to his mother, neither he could go to his father. So the only thing was he had to freeze and be into the room. So now one can imagine the situation of a woman who has young children and is alone in the house with her violent, drunkard husband who's quite capable of killing them, and she has to be on guard. She is vigilant, nervous, tense, sad. She is brooding and crying. So she is vigilant, nervous, tense, she is brooding and crying, unable to express her fears. She is dependent on the husband and her children. All this can make her resort to prayers and she may become superstitious. She may also be afraid that her husband will die, and this makes her more anxious. So now we see ki why Rustox is superstitious, right? Why he has to become superstitious, because he's just constantly praying. There is nobody to look around. So now you have to understand remedies from all the perspectives. Sometimes we understand from the materia medica, we understand the remedy from rubrics, we understand the medicine from the level of delusion. So the more you know about the remedy from all the aspects, you will be able to understand the case. Rustox boys, they cannot sit at one place, they are always fidgeting. Rustox children find it difficult to hold their urine. It is complementary to Calcarea carb. Just as Calcarea carb facing a threat from outside go into semonium state, it is Rustox, the person who is facing a threat from his own family go into the Rustox state. So now you have to understand these aspects. Also, these physical things we have seen here. These are all the physical themes. So remedy given was Rustox. So this was how we came from the situational materia medica, the level of, if you understand the delusion, how this child has the fear of, he has this insecurity since childhood because the father was threatening. Now just broaden this experience. We as students learn materia medica repertory, but as we are now growing, we are seeing that we have to see the sensation. We have to see what about this, what is this pattern? Is it a plant? Is it an animal? Or is it a mineral? So here what we see is that there was something happening outside in his room when he was small, and he didn't have anything other than to just freeze. So in his migraine, this was a symptom that he just froze and he couldn't think of anything, and he did not want to go out of his home. He had to cancel everything. So that was the sensation here. So now this sensation we have is they are forced from outside. There is a force from outside which holds tight. This is anacardiacy, right? Now we try to study Rustox from the perspective of this family. So this family, this rubric, as if he's attacked from his family members, has only 5 remedies, and out of those 2 are from Rustox family. One is Rus toxicodendron and other is Rus glabra. So now you have to understand these 2 remedies, and only thing is you can assist, you can do is you can take some more rubrics which are clear. You can go for Rustox or Rus glabra. So your search ends here. And also you have to keep in mind if there is a threat from the family, you can also have Rustox and Rus glabra. So you have to, now you have to study this new remedy, which is Rus glabra. So this is what we are seeing here. Rus glabra is a plant remedy, and the sensation is, it is, just hot, stiff, tight, tension, stuck, trapped, blocked, gripped, held off, tightness, inflexible, limited, restricted, constricted, as if dead. That was the child, he just pretended that he's, stuck. He is just this, he's just frozen and he's not able to move, as if he's dead. Movement is not allowed and you want to move. This is the sensation of anacardiasis sensation family. So passive reaction is paralyzed, immobile. He can feel cramps, pressing, inactive, cannot move. It is aggravation in the house, as we saw in a patient, and he wants to just move out. Active reaction is movement, emulates, wants to move permanently, and that is what the child did by going to the hostel. He just wanted to leave this house and he wants to go out permanently. But there too he felt bullied, and again because of his same internal sensation, the same situation there, and he wanted to move out of that school too. So there is a feeling of wanting to be free, released, untied, movable, inhibited, flowing, loose, liberated, and unbound. The compensation will be that these people will always be on the move. They always will like to just move around, right? So this is how we study remedies from this, and I've already shown you all a case of Mangifera indica from this family in the first or second session. So this is the thing. I'd like to show you all a small clipping, see how to understand this is a plant. If there are any queries, you can ask, and I wanted to show you all a clipping. And just yeah, miasms are difficult to understand, so you don't have to work in every case for miasms. In some cases, you will see that you are able to see clearly, you are able to see the miasms, and in most of the cases, you're not able to do. So you just be with whatever is showing in the moment, right? So you don't have to just follow, you just go with whatever is in the moment. I'll show you all a video now.
Hi, I'm Thomas Noosa. I'm a lecturer in plant sciences at the Faculty of Life Sciences at the University of Manchester. The first question we got is...
You can see my screen now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So can plants drown?
Just try to understand what a plant is, and we'll try to understand from video how you have to see what a plant does. A plant is very sensitive. A plant doesn't have any strategy because it cannot move. The only strategy a plant has is to adapt, to react, right? And in this, our patient, what he said, I just had to adapt to what, I cannot change my brother. I just have to, he just made a plan to just exit without confronting his brother when he came to office.
And if so, how? Now, if, like me, you've managed to overwater more than one pot plant in your life and drowned it that way, you do know that plants can indeed drown, and they do. So what's easy to overlook is that, so we all know that plants produce oxygen, and we know that, of course, they could use that same oxygen to basically live and breathe. over the lifetime, plants produce more oxygen than they use, but there are times, especially, of course, at night, when they need oxygen. And during the daytime, of course, continuously, they also need oxygen. So if you stop a plant from getting oxygen, for example, by saturating soil with water or by submerging the whole plant in water, then they can't breathe. Now, plants can deal with that better than animals can, but over time, so a plant can, for example, survive a couple of days, a week or more, completely submerged, but then it gets into trouble. If it's only the soil that's being submerged, sometimes many plants have ways of piping air basically from the aerial tissues down into the roots, but not all plants can do that. And so sometimes crops get into trouble if, for example, the fields are being flooded. So the second question is, how do plants grow with artificial light, and what type of artificial light we need? So there are two things we need to bear in mind when it comes to plants and light. The first is how much light they get, the intensity of the light. And the second point is what quality of light or what wavelength of light. It's easy to underestimate just how bright the sun is on a sunny day. And so if we try to recreate that intensity of sunlight in a room, we need quite a lot of lamps. Now, the good thing is plants have found ways of dealing with very variable amounts of light. And so if you grow them in lower intensity light, that's kind of okay for most of them, so that they grow a bit more slowly, but they can deal with that. What they do need is, though, they need the right quality of light. So they need red light to do photosynthesis, and they need a little bit of blue light as well to regulate growth. And so you can recreate that in the lab. We've had for a while in our growth chambers artificial lights, LEDs, that provide the plants with a lot of red and a little bit of blue. And those growth chambers looked a bit like a 1980s disco. And so, but the plants did grow quite happily. But generally what you try to do is to give them white light and mix enough red and a little bit of blue in that, and the plants grow just fine. The next question, what do you think about the idea that plants can feel pain? I could make it easy for myself and say that if you ask a neuroscientist, pain is something that our brain creates. So as the saying goes, no brain, no pain. Plants don't have a brain. They've got no central nervous system. They've got no processing power anywhere that's like a brain. And so they cannot feel pain. You could also argue that in terms of evolution, we feel pain to make us react very quickly to danger, to difficult situations that we want to run away from. And it makes us react very quickly. So take that hand off a hot plate, run away from danger and so on. And plants can't do that because they're rooted in place. And so you could argue it doesn't make sense for plants to feel pain in the way that we do. Having said all that, plants do react to the sorts of things that give us pain. So, for example, if you cut off a leaf of a plant or if you crush it or something like that, we know that they react to that. We know that there's an electrical signal that's sent from the wounded place throughout the plant. And many of these things like insects chewing on a plant or cow grazing on a plant do trigger some responses like, for example, the plant trying to defend itself. Some of them do that by producing compounds that make the leaves taste bad, for example, to herbivores and so on. So the responses to wounding and to danger are a lot more subtle than you would get from an animal that feels pain. And there's no brain that processes this information, but plants do react to these things in a way you could then say they feel pain. The next question is, how does poison ivy cause itchy rashes? Poison ivy is one of the plants that make me feel glad to live in Europe because it doesn't grow here. Poison ivy and a number of related plants belong to a small family that grows in North America and in Asia. And all of the members of this family produce, in various degrees, oily resins. And in Asia, craftsmen have used this kind of oily resin to lacquer wooden boxes, for example, and furniture. And it's really beautiful craftsmanship. And the reason these plants give us itchy rashes is kind of related to this producing lacquer, actually. Because as I understand it, now I'm not an immunologist, but this oily resin with an active ingredient called urushiol, with a Japanese name, triggers the same sort of contact dermatitis, that is the kind of rashes you would get from contact with latex, for example, or with nickel, as some people have that. What's unusual, though, is that in most cases, allergies are being caused by a specific protein or something like that. And typically, it's only a small number of people who are allergic to that particular protein or that allergen. This is different for poison ivy because this oily resin, this urushiol, has a family of chemicals that all have the same property. They've got a tail and a head. And what the tail does is to slot itself into the membranes of your skin cells. So it really sort of sticks there. And the heads have a funny way of supergluing themselves, each other, and proteins of your skin cells into one big lump. Essentially, they're lacquering your skin. And as I understand it, these lumps of proteins and these molecules in your skin are very strong triggers for allergic responses. So this is why most people actually do have these responses to poison ivy, unlike things like a peanut allergy, where only a small number of people are affected. Next, we've been sent this picture of a plant, and you can ask, my dogs both love to eat this plant. What is it? Now, I should admit, I'm not a classically trained botanist, but as far as I can see, what you've got in that picture is Jack by the Hedge, or garlic mustard, which is a plant that grows all over the UK, and it's actually quite nice to eat for us as well. I'm surprised that your dogs like it, but maybe they are gourmets and love eating these salad greens. The final question we've got is, can plants attack one another, such as through chemicals sent to nearby plants? I sense from this question that you probably know the answer a little bit already. So plants have the ability to exude chemicals into the ground. And the principle of affecting other plants nearby with these chemicals is called allelopathy. And typically it's done not really to kill other plants or to really stop them from growing completely, but basically to give the plant that makes this stuff a competitive advantage. And garden owners might have seen this sort of thing with walnut trees. So right beneath the walnut tree where the roots grow, there is a zone where some plants just don't like to grow. Some plants are fine with it, but some plants are quite sensitive to this. So walnut trees produce a chemical, in this case called juglone, that gives that walnut tree a bit of a competitive advantage. And we think, although we don't know for sure, but we think that many plants do something like that, not to kill their neighbors, but basically to have a bit of a competitive advantage.
So what did you get from this? Anyone? Yeah. So now if you want to understand what a plant is, you have to understand that plant is rooted at one place. As he said, that the plants are rooted at one place. The animals can move. So animals have a nervous system and they can think and they can respond. But in plants, the nervous system is not that developed and there is no brain. The only thing they can do is just react. So in this person also what we saw is he just froze and he just wants to go out. So there is a reaction in this, and then they act accordingly to that reaction. So it is not a response. It doesn't go into the brain, and it doesn't go into the brain, and they don't get a signal from that to respond. It is always a reaction. This is what you have to understand in the energy of a plant and an animal, because all the words were there of the animal that he was being attacked from somebody inside the home and the reaction was frozen. So even in animals you will see that there is a freezing, but the energy is there on the attack, that he attacked me. But here there is a slight subtle difference ki I just froze because of something happening to outside. So when you try to see so many cases, now you will understand gradually the energy of the plant. It is not somebody doing something to me. It is that I'm so sensitive that I just can give a reaction, and I have to act according to the reaction without using my brain. So this is how we have to see the kingdoms. And this is the seventh case of a plant. And if you have all attended my webinars, you'll now understand the texture of a plant. Sometimes it is because the words are so similar, you won't be able to differentiate the kingdom. But in this case, if you go superficially on the words, they were animal words, that I was attacked, there was violence. And even the movies he saw was, there was a Hulk, but the reaction was he just froze. He couldn't think what to do. So any question, Abhi, related to this? Yeah, plants don't feel the pain the way we feel, but still they have a sensitivity to their pain, and they react by secreting chemicals, resins, or like in roses we have thorns. So they have their own protective mechanisms. Yeah, words look like mollusk, right? Many plants look like animal. Yeah, in this also, because he feels threatened. But he's feeling threatened by his own father, who should be supporting him. The birds are same like an animal, but ultimately the experience within is of freezing, which is just a reaction to something outside. Right. So any query, can you tell about the Mangifera? Dr. Juhi, it will be difficult because it's time also. And that case, again, it will take at least 12 to 15 minutes to give justice to that case. So is this case clear? Any doubts? You can unmute yourself and ask a question if you want. Otherwise, we'll sign off.
Doctor, could you please differentiate with mineral kingdom, like anger with the father, like that?
Yeah, there he'll feel that I'm so dependent on my father and I'm not capable. So he'll say, one day I'll grow up and earn, and then I'll show. So, he'll try to feel that there is some incapability in him, and that capability has to be overcome so that he is now not scared of his father. So that is the energy of a mineral. There is a deep feeling of lack within him. Right? Anybody else? So we'll just sign off, taking this that everybody understood the case, and we'll try to meet next Wednesday again. Normally I do these webinars on Wednesdays, but this time I had to do it on Thursday because of some. So you just try to see that, you have to go into the thoda sa depth of what is a plant, what is an animal, and why we just read it in books that it is sensitive and it's reacting. What is the mechanism behind it? Doesn't have a well-developed nervous system. It doesn't have a brain to think, the central, this is not there. So there is no centrally located response. It is just a local reaction to it. They will they'll just suddenly put something into you, like the example was given, Rustox, it's an IV. It'll just, and you will get a local irritation. So the centralized response is not there. Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining up. So we'll meet next Wednesday. Okay. Thank you.
It's really wonderful, doctor. Thank you very much. Actually, I thought this is the first class, but you're saying it's already you have started, right?
Yeah, it's 7th class. So I've been showing my students, because there are many students who are not clear because of so many methods. So ultimately, it's all about individualizing. Whatever method you choose, wherever you choose, everything is in the fundamentals of our books. So you have to go to the source books. That's what is the message I want to give.
So what is the software, repertory software we can buy?
Mine is Mac Repertory, which has now been upgraded to SHS. right? Yeah,
Yes.
it's Synergy homeopathic software, and but you can, I use repertorize with complete repertory. That is my favorite. So
Thank
to
you. Thank
start
you.
with, you can start with complete repertory. It is not that costly. We have a new version, 2020 version of it. So thank you for joining up. We'll meet next week. If you have any queries or if you want any topic to be done, just post it in the group. I have added all of you all to the group. So thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care.